So today I want to talk about why it seems like all the best players who come out of the UK, more specifically England, are all from large cities. So I'm pretty sure in the summer you guys watch the Euros, and if you actually take a close look at the England squad, you could see that the majority of the players are from the largest cities in the UK. So for example, we got guys like Harry Kane, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, and Eberichi Eze. There's probably a few more who are all from London. Then we got guys from Manchester like Phil Foden and Kobe Mainoo. And then we got guys from Liverpool such as Anthony Gordon and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And also we got a guy like Jude Bellingham who's from Birmingham, another large city in the UK. So it appears that all the best players pretty much come from larger cities in the UK. So for reference, I come from East London, and growing up, I used to watch a show called Jamie Johnson. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys used to watch Jamie Johnson as well. It was a great show, to be fair. But yeah, in Jamie Johnson, they had this dynamic of like, obviously they based it in a small town type of thing, and it was like, there was always this dynamic of like everyone knew who Jamie Johnson was. He's the best player in the area. Like everyone knew him. He low key had like celebrity status type of thing. Like it was mad, to be honest. But like where I'm from, like I said, East London, you don't really get that. You don't really get like one guy or two guys who are really like who have that celebrity status. Like, oh yeah, he's the best player in the area, simply because there was just so many like good players, for example, because obviously the area is a lot bigger. There were so many good players, so you'd find, oh, he's a baller, he's a great player. Then you find another one and another one. You'll find so many players who are considered ballers basically in East London. So it's kind of mad, and the dynamics it's a lot different than a small town. So yeah, today I want to talk about why you find the best players coming from the larger cities in the UK. So the first point is quite an obvious point, but it's simply that in larger cities there's more competition. There's just more players. You find a variety of different players at different abilities. You find players who are worse than you. You find players who are even levels above you. So yeah, in larger cities there's just so much more competition. Um, this is an important factor simply because if you get a kid from like a small town, let's say for example, and he's the best player in the area. Let's say he's the best player in the area. Everyone knows that this kid is okay. He's the best player in the area. He's the guy. Like I said, celebrity status basically. He's the guy. There's a big chance he's gonna get complacent pretty much, and he's gonna think, if it's like this now in my small town, it's gonna be like this. When I climb through the age groups, when I get into the academies, when I play against other players from other places, it's just gonna be like this forever. He's gonna think that, I'm just gonna be the best player. I'm just gonna be the best player, which will encourage him to sort of be lazy, be complacent, not really work hard because he's never really had to. He's never pretty much seen the levels. He's never pretty much seen the levels compared to a guy who's from a big city. He's seen different players on different abilities, different types of players as well. So he's always had to work on his game, work on his weaknesses. He's been forced to just improve. Kind of like me during COVID. I've told you guys the story about me and my cousin where we were just 3 4 months just out there grinding because even by what 14 15 I'd seen the levels pretty much. I've seen levels with the levels of the players in my area, things like that. I knew I had certain things to work on my game. My cousin knew that as well. He had certain things to work on his game. He's 3 years younger than me, but even still, so he was like what 11, 12. So even he knew by then that he had a lot of things to work on because he'd seen the levels. He'd played against players who had been in academies, been in and out of academies. So yeah, that's the first point. A kid in a small town, he's not really gonna get to experience that, especially if he's one of the best. He's not really gonna get to experience that. He's just constantly gonna be known as the local guy who's the guy. He's the best player in the area. He's the star boy basically. So yeah, he's never gonna have to feel that need to improve, see flaws in his game, certain things like this. And obviously, when he starts to come up against guys from other places who have been working on their game, just working on their weaknesses, their flaws, he's gonna find that, oh damn, I have a lot to work on basically. But by that point, it might even be too late. He might be 15, 16, where he starts to branch out and see their levels, and he'll just find out that, oh damn, he's not up to it because he just never put in that work because he just never seen the work that he had to put in. So yeah, that's the first point. Simply just more competition, more players, and yeah, you get humbled as well in big C's. I feel like you come against players where you're like, damn, like I thought I was good, but that guy right there, that's levels. So yeah, that's the first point. So the next point is there's just simply better scouting opportunities. Obviously, when you play in a big city, let's just say London for example, and you'll find that there's so many tournaments. Let's say under 10s, under 11 tournaments where you have so many academy scouts coming to watch, trying to find like which player they think can really make it, which player they can develop and turn into a real player. Obviously, it's happened to my brother a lot. Like the last two years, he's gone to a lot of tournaments where there's been scouts all over, like Watford, Arsenal, Fulham, Chelsea, you name it, West Ham, you name it. All you see all kinds of kids getting picked up by academies, and yeah, getting 6 week trials, 10 week trials. Yeah, just getting opportunities basically. I feel like that's not really gonna happen in a smaller town. In a smaller town, there's probably gonna be only like probably one or two teams in around that local area. Whereas a place like London, you get so many teams. Even the teams who aren't Premier League, let's say they've in the lower divisions. Teams like Charlton and Leyton Orient. Obviously, I know a lot of people have played for Charlton and Leyton Orient. Even teams, yeah, just even teams like that. So yeah, when you play in a big city, there's more opportunities for scouting. Obviously, we're in the age of social media as well. So if you're like 14, 15 and you play for like a social media driven team, obviously that attracts scouts as well. So yeah, you can get connections to get into certain tournaments where you have the opportunity to showcase your talent and where academy coaches will be watching you. So yeah, that's the next point. Basically, there's just more opportunities for scouting. Coaches will come down to even teams from outside of London. They'll come down to sort of watch tournaments, watch games, especially if you're at a younger age as well, probably from like 9 years old to like 13. In there's certain tournaments where it's packed with scouts. Sometimes you wouldn't even know that there's packed with scouts. I remember my brother got scouted for he got he got interest from Arsenal basically, and it was literally just some lady, like she was just dressed as some just normal lady, just normal tracks. She didn't have the Arsenal tracks or anything. But yeah, obviously he balled out, and then she took an interest in him and I think two of his other teammates. So yeah, you literally these type of tournaments these days you'll find so many so many scouts come down. Even most of them are incognito. You don't even know that they're there. So yeah, that's the next point. More scouting opportunities. Obviously, if you come from a small town, obviously don't take this as a you know, woe is me. Obviously keep a positive mentality. You can still get your chance. Even in a small town, it's sort of there's an advantage to it where you have, let's say there's only like two academies in the area. There's a low key advantage. There's low-key advantage because you can sort of what's it called? You can sort of track them academies down. You can sort of know, okay, where do they come scout players? Which type of games do they go to? Which leagues do they watch? Which tournaments do they go to as well? I think there's an advantage there as well. It's just easier to sort of like track their activity, if you get what I mean. Like you can ask people around you as well. Okay, so you got scouted for this team. Okay, where did they scout you? Where did they come? And it's I think in a smaller town it's easier just to know that sort of information, just to know where they come. Whereas in a bigger town, they could literally be there's so many places they can be. So yeah, even if you come from a small town, don't don't put your head down, keep your head up, because obviously, like I said, it's just easier to track the activity. Because obviously, if your friends or people you know, or you hear stories about people getting scouted by the local teams in your area, it's just easy to track down. You just have to ask them, okay, where did you get scouted? And yeah, obviously you see commonalities, you see a common denominator. You'll be like, okay, so they go to this place, this place, this place, and it's just easier to track them down. So yeah, that's point number two though. When you do come from a big city, there's sort of the number of academies is more to the number of academies. What's it called? There are a larger number of academies, sorry, that are there to watch your games, watch certain tournaments, and all of that. All right, so the next point, this is another big point as well. I feel like when you're from a larger city, it's sort of there's more of a football culture vibe, if you get what I'm saying. Let me give you an example. I'm talking about if you live in sort of like let's say you live like in a small town in the countryside, there aren't really gonna be that many astro pitches. You're gonna have to travel miles to go to games, to find astro pitches, to find like cages, or cages on the estate where you play. You're not gonna find them near what's it called, near like the countryside and stuff. However, when you're in like the bigger inner city, you're gonna find so many places to go play football. Literally your local park. If you live on the estate, your local your what's it called, literally literally the cage outside. Local Astros. I know the Astro that I go to. What's it called? Everyone wants to play football there so badly. Like every single time, every single time you go there, there's literally like a little hole in the fence where people literally come with like the mad machines where you can literally break like the entire break a decent sized hole in the fence. Trust me, it gets patched up like let's say once every 2 months, best believe 3 days later, somebody's come with literally like a wrench and just wrenched a hole in that fence, so everyone can literally just go in there for free of charge. So I think, yeah, when you're from the countryside, in order to go down to an Astro to train, like, you're probably gonna have to drive there. Obviously, if you're a kid, can't drive, so it's like, yeah, it's mad. It's just whereas for me, there's about, in my area, I want to say about, what, three Astros I can get to literally by walking distance. I think one is like 15 minutes, another's like 20, and then there's another where I'll take a bus that takes like, what, 10 minutes to get there. Like, it's so easy when you live in a big city. Just the facilities around, there's many more facilities around you basically, and obviously, yeah, that encourages just way more football culture. And yeah, because of the football culture, all your friends around you, they're gonna try and make it as professional players. Obviously, that provides more competition, which is a downside, but also a good thing, because you know that you know the level now. You've seen your friends, you've seen other people around you, even people you don't know that you come across in the Astro cage. You might come across a guy who's just an absolute baller, like plays for an academy, or formerly played for an academy, and you're like, all right, cool, I know the levels now. Let me come back tomorrow. Let me get my stuff, get my cones, get my footballs, get my boots on, and just come train on my weaknesses, come work. So yeah, that's the next point. There's just many more facilities basically. Yeah, which encourages what's it called? It encourages more of a football culture around where you live. When you live in the big city, obviously, like me, with all the AstroTurf being built, all the stadiums for certain teams, yeah, yeah. So that's point number three. And then the last point, when you come from a big city, another advantage is probably that there are just so many more teams, from grassroots level to sort of when you get to like that semi-pro level and also professional level. There's just so many options, so many teams. Imagine you come from like a small, obviously people who are from a small area, you can let me know how it is, but how I imagine it would literally be like, there's probably like two or three teams in the areas, and let's say there's a certain coach who plays a play style that doesn't really suit you, doesn't really bring the best out of you. You're kind of like stuck there, if you get what I mean. You don't have those options to sort of venture out and find different teams, find a coach who likes you, who plays a style of football that you like. Whereas in my area, I have certain friends, know certain people who literally hop from team to team every season. If they don't like a certain thing about this team, they can go there and play there. If they don't like a certain thing about that team, they can go play there. I know people who have literally played for about six teams before the age of 15. Like, it's nuts. Like, every one season, maybe they'll spend this 2 seasons with a team, or they're constantly just hopping from team to team. Maybe it's because, maybe it's not even because they don't like the team. Maybe it's because there's another team in the area who get more connections, because obviously there's teams these days who got connections with, like, there's grassroots teams who get connections with, like, academies like Arsenal, Chelsea. Maybe it's because of that. Maybe um because a certain team just has certain connections to tournaments where the players have the ability to showcase their talent, just things like that. Whereas I feel like when you come from a small town, you're kind of like pigeonholed into like, what, one, two, three teams in your areas. If you want to venture out, it's gonna what's it called? It's gonna be a long travel. Which, if your parents are down for it, that's cool. But most likely, if you're gonna have to travel like over an hour, they're gonna be like, okay, why don't you just play with this team? Why don't you play with this team, despite all the factors, despite that you may not like the environment there, you may not like what position you're playing, you may not like your amount of game time you're getting. But yeah, that's the last point. When you're in a big city, you just have options. You can just go anywhere. You can go anywhere you want. If you go for trials here and a certain team say, "Now we don't really want you," you can go here, and maybe the coach likes you over there. There's just so many options basically. So yeah, so that's the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been JT, and I'm out.